Hey guys, this is Tape, and today you join me for episode 7 of Fall of Kerbin. And we start with a couple of attackers. The ones that we were storing in the south for various things have been moved up to our northern base of Valley's Guard near the mountain pass, where Penguin has got 4 tanks pretty much just dug in my forward operating base and is preparing a massive invasion on the north of Cathenia, which we cannot allow. So we've loaded up a couple of attackers with 1,000 pounds of bombs each, and we're going to go and try and do as much damage as we can before our tanks roll in and clean him out of there, because we can't be having penguins walking around. We can't have Cruolans in Cathenia. That's not how it works. Penguin has insisted that I need to dig in, and I will dig in, but I'm not going to dig in where he wants me to dig in. I'm going to dig in where I say I'm going to dig in. Jesus Christ, I don't take advice from the enemy. Anyway, so yes, after a bit of a flight, we get into range, as you can see here, a little early on that one, and I tell my my wingman to use its, just to go and attack the enemy tank by itself, and I'm going to take the other one. I'm going to hit the 2 tanks in the front, because the other ones are kind of tucked in behind the runway or on the runway and are a little more agreeable to kill from various ranges, whereas the other 2 are kind of right at the front, so I'm going to run right into them as I enter the forward operating base, but we can't really... But the others are kind of, you can see they're a little bit backward. Anyway, so we're going to drop our first payload of bombs onto this tank here, and you can see they go away quite nicely. Now I'm going to just refill my ammo so I can engage in a dogfight, because the Cruolan captain has taken off, and I will have to shoot that down at some point, no doubt. But the other plane should be getting ready to drop its bombs, and it has, on the same one I was dropping my bombs on. I told it to attack the other one. This isn't super reliable, but whatever, that's fine. What we're going to do now is dive down and try and shoot the other tank, because I don't know what I was thinking here, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to kill this. And on the way down, the bombs hit the SM-1B on my left, but it isn't dead, and I start taking fire, and I'm trying to shoot out the back armor of this tank, but I start taking a little bit too much fire and kind of start crashing. I think some gunfire did hit the tank, and as I slam into the ground, it sort of seems to explode the tank a little bit and hauls it across the ground. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. A stray bomb hit, or my plane caused the impact, but yeah, it's pretty wounded. The back armor's broken, and that's facing the way I'm going to attack from, so that's pretty effective. The other tank I hit has taken some serious damage, but definitely not dead, so we haven't done a ton here today, but we are going to take down this captain, because we definitely don't want a plane in the air potentially dropping bombs on our tanks as we're trying to kind of sneak behind ridges and fire over them, because that would give them a pretty serious advantage. While diving down on top of it, I do take a little bit of fire. As you can see here, there's a little bit, but I'm pretty far out, and even though those are pretty accurate 20mm guns, they're not too bad. And I'm just going to kind of line up my shot a little bit, take a few pot shots, and then activate the mouse aim flight mod, and very, very quickly dispatch this. That was probably my quickest kill ever in a dogfight. But yes, so we have damaged 2 of the tanks, we have taken out the attacker, and we are going to head on home, even though we are still taking flak fire, and I am being shot by the 30mm at the back. That plane should hit the ground in no time, and we'll be ready to roll in with some tanks, which should be good. So yes, not quite as successful as I wanted this to be. Penguin's tanks seem to be incredibly bomb resistant, like ridiculously so. I don't know what they're made of, but there we go, it slams into the ground. His plane's not so much. But yeah, anyway, that doesn't matter. We're going to head in with the tanks now, and not just any... We're going to land on the runway now. It's almost like I don't remember how I edited this. Yeah, so we land this on the runway at Valley's Guard. Really squirrely landing, as always, but yeah, this got back safely, and in one piece, which is good. So we only lost 1 attacker, and that did some damage, so that's good. Anyway, now it's time to roll in with the tanks, and these are heavy tanks. These are Centaur Mark 1s. One of them carrying a 3-inch naval gun, which is just like a 3-inch tank cannon, and the other one carrying a 37mm flak cannon. They don't work great with burn together, as you can see. I was trying to drive forward, and it didn't work so well, so I basically did it one by one. But I'm actually getting pretty close and not taking any fire. My main worry here was that Penguin's PT-1 would be able to use its tank gun to kind of arc shots over and hit me, but it doesn't seem to be able to do so, and I kind of tried the same sort of thing from really long range, but the ridge is very steep in front of the forward operating base, and I think that's going to play to my advantage. because it means I can sneak up on the forward 2 tanks without having to deal with the PT-1. That's a problem for later. I do get a few shots off, but they just hit the ridge, because it's a very steep ridge. This is very bumpy ground. It's foothills to mountains, so yeah, this isn't actually ideal tank battling ground, depending on your view. And in my view, it's pretty ideal for this mission, so I'm actually able to roll up really close to these tanks. And I can only really go one by one, but that's fine, because these the 2 tanks I've brought have totally different purposes. One of them has the flak cannon for quickly dispatching things at close range, and this one can arc its shots over ridges. So I'm tucked behind a ridge right now where nothing can hit me, not even the PT-1 with its tank cannon. But I'm able to just freely shoot at this tank, which is really useful. And before I get any "that's kind of scummy" comments, Penguin did it to me, so there's no advantage to anyone, and this is a legitimate tactic. If I'm really close to one of those tanks with this, it would shred me, but my advantage is I can arc my shots. And you can see here, I miss a few, but after a little while, I get some shots on target. And these are pretty resilient to 3-inch shells. You pretty much have to find a pain point. You have to find a weak bit of armor or a wheel arch or something that can break off and explode. So yeah, it takes a little bit of trial and error, but I have all the time in the world. However, I don't have all of the shells in the world. By the end of this, I used about half of my tank shells, because it takes quite a while to do this. When you're not in close range, it's quite hard to find a good shot. This is pretty much a crap and shoots. Luckily, the back of this tank doesn't have any armor on it, because I, tactically kamikazed, because my pilots will die for this, because this is pretty dire. Penguin moved 4 tanks up to my forward operating base. That's a serious problem. That is an invasion. So we're taking this very seriously. So seriously, we destroy that tank. That's quite a nice explosion. Totally dead. I think I just got it in the back. So yes, very useful. So the second tank, obviously I was a little less scummy about this one. That's a lie. Obviously I used firing arcs. And it appears I can get my shots on the PT-1 when it can't get its shots on me. Now I have 2 theories about this. One of them is that I'm behind a ridge, so it just can't see me, so it can't figure out where to shoot. And the second one is that because I'm right behind the ridge, it can't arc shots over on me, but I can arc shots over onto it, which I'm not sure if that's why. But one of those. Anyway, so yeah, you can see here how much the shots knock this tank when I actually hit it. It is pretty hard to do any damage to one of these PT-1s, because they're basically just massive pieces of metal with a gun somewhere in them. But yeah, I do get a few hits on, and there are some explosions, but pretty much that's just wheel arch damage. These are pretty terrifying tanks, and I need to destroy it quite seriously. But you can see, because these are such powerful shots, it's actually slipping off the runway. So I only get a few of these before this just rolls down the back of the runway, and I have to go and deal with it in some other way. So we're going to get a quick look at it, and you can just see we've done a bit of wheel arch damage, nothing major. But yeah, after a few more shots, we get a little more damage, and we start to cause it some damage, but you can see it's starting to slip behind the runway quite seriously now, and we're going to lose this. And I think that may have been the final blow that... Nope, okay, maybe we'll get one more in. But yeah, these 3-inch naval guns are pretty good. They can fire 15 rounds a minute, which is shot every 4 seconds. Oh, and that finally tips it down the back of the runway. We have done a bit of damage, but nothing to the core of the tank, so we're going to have to deal with that with the flak cannon. Anyway, so that's actually nice that it is behind the runway, because we don't have to deal with that for a while now. So we can safely take out the other tanks, and obviously just firing arc on this. Maybe me and Penguin need to, talk about overuse of firing arcs. He only took out one of mine with that, I think. But he did some pretty tactical stuff, so I thought I'd very tactically do this and rip apart the rest of his tanks. So anyway, I bring up, now that the PT-1 isn't a problem, I bring up the flak cannon carrying tank, because that's no longer in danger, and park that next to that. And then obviously just use the naval gun to take out the final SM-1, the light tank. And after a few shots, they are pretty resilient. These Penguin's tanks, they don't look resilient because they have a bunch of gaps in their armor, but they're surprisingly bomb-proof and shell-proof. But after a while, they just gotta die. And yeah, we get a few good shots, and it does start to explode. Big fan of these arcing shots with the tanks. Very useful. And the final death nail. Is it? I don't know. It looks pretty dead now. It's hard to say though, because it looks like it's a massive pile of nothing, but often there's like half a tank surrounded by debris and smoke. But yes, and then we take out the final one behind the runway with a swift shot. That was actually a few more shots, but I cut it out. So yes, that's all the light tanks done, and now we're going to roll in with the Centaur Mark 1L with the flat cannon and poke around the runway and just shoot the shit out of the PT-1, because I think this would be the most effective weapon for taking down that, because, you know, it can fire much faster, it doesn't pack quite as much of a punch, but I can easily aim it very quickly, so this should be pretty easy. So yes, this has been a very successful, probably my most successful tank mission, given that Penguins usually, well, the Kerbal tanks usually give me a bit of a beating, even with my more, you know, my newer light tanks, which are much better. The Minotaur Mark IIs are very useful, but, you know, they're about on par with Penguins tanks, I think. So anyway, as we start firing, as we come around the hill, or around the runway even, to where the tank has slipped down, and start opening fire, and it does get a naval gun shot off, and it almost hits me, and that would have been pretty devastating if it had hit, because it was going right for the back of me. But then kind of sadly, it opens fire with the 30 caliber turret, which it has in it, which isn't super useful, because this is a tank, and that's a small machine gun. But yeah, I guess it just couldn't get it. Maybe I destroyed its ammo box or something. But yeah, I quickly dispatched that, and that is dead. And that was, yeah, so, pretty effective. Penguin will not be invading this turn, or ever, at all. We will not let him. We'll fight him on the airstrips and the beaches and the hills or whatever. But yeah, we're gonna hold him in the north so we can continue our advance in the south. Because you may have noticed that Penguin seems to have better numbers than me, but that's only really in the north because I have a lot of power in the south currently. A lot of power, some power. He destroyed my navy, but I have some tanks down there and I had some planes down there. You know what I mean? That's where a lot of my force goes right now. But anyway, yes. So we mount this up on a hill to try and make Penguin not be able to firing arc scum me, because I mean that's a super shitty thing for someone to do, and very effective. And we mount up the 3-inch. Gun carrier on the runway because, well, that is where it is best useful. Anyway, now that we have succeeded in that mission, we must go down south because Penguin has been moving his fleet up, and we cannot have this. Currently, we only have 2 cruisers down in the south, which is going to be pretty rough because we're going to be taking on 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers. So we are outgunned, and Penguin's cruisers are on their broadside, so they have all of their guns facing forward. I only have 6 of my guns facing forward, so we are outgunned. But my plan is not to win. My plan is to batter the hell out of this fleet so that it can't possibly do any damage in the south, and then clean them up later if they don't run away. I mean, maybe they won't be able to run away because, you know, they'll have their engines stripped off. And luckily, Penguin's the closest supply vehicles are 2 turns away. I guess he could run away and, you know, kind of meet them up, but I don't think he could even do that in 1 turn because they're, I think, at least 90 kilometers away. So this fleet is stranded, and I'm pretty sure they're out of fuel. So they are totally stranded, and we are gonna basically make them as defenseless as possible so that we can. So that we don't have to worry about the fleet in the south. So yes, we've taken a few shots, our first few shots, and Penguin's cruisers have started turning their guns towards me. I'm just going to have a real quick sip of water. It's hard to talk for half an hour, but anyway, yes, so the shells start flying from the first 2 ships, and in no time, I'm sure all ships will be firing, and then that will be a problem. Now, I've noticed from previous battles that I usually just seem to get hit in one point on one side, kind of at the front of my ships. So I'm going to try and mitigate that by doing a little bit of turning this episode. I know my naval strategy has now, you know, grown to include turning the ships. I think that's quite impressive. You know, it's a very, 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 very advanced skill, turning ships. Anyway, so yes. More and more shells start to fly, and you can see there's some 5-inch shells coming in from the destroyers, none of them hitting yet, although the first ones start to fall on my ships. And you can see they are kind of being hit in the front on the right, where they tend to usually be hit. But yes, I'm hoping that my cruisers will be going for Penguin's cruisers, because the destroyers don't worry me too much. Obviously, they have a lot of torpedoes on them, which are kind of problematic for me. But yeah. So I'm actually going to probably start turning these cruisers soon, because we've got a little bit of damage on this one, but I think they've started firing at other things. But yeah, I'm going to start turning this cruiser pretty soon, because it's starting to take pretty serious hits on its right side, and it's starting to really heat up, and we want to kind of mitigate that for as long as possible so that we don't start sinking and don't start just kind of exploding like the USS, I want to say Sierra, or no, maybe it was the Springwood. Yeah, it was the USS Springwood, which just kind of exploded. So yeah, I'm going to start turning this with the rudder and variable thrust on the thrusters, because shots are starting to come in, and we've lost our first panel, and we are now taking on water and have an exposed part of our ship, which could allow them just to knock out all of our internals and just absolutely lay waste to the ship. So yeah, and we've got a hole in the front of the ship now, which is also a problem, so we are going to need to be turning so that they're shooting the other side. And it's already starting to work. There's shells coming in and hitting the other side now. So yes, slightly tactics. And then, yeah, we'll just get it going straight again. And I'm going to do the same with this as well, because this has already lost a panel on the side, right in the middle where a lot of the vital parts are. So we definitely need to be turning this so it takes hits on the other side, so that it's sinking on both sides. Because it also wouldn't be great to capsize, because if it kind of sinks slowly into the water, kind of evenly, that's not so much of a problem. But if it starts capsizing, then it's over, which is really not what you want. So yes, we are going to turn this quite, hastily, so that we don't have to, die. But you can see there's smoke rising out of some of the Krolan ships now, which is quite good, because it means we're getting some good hits on, and we'll start looking at that in a little bit. It looks like the maneuver has worked on this. It's starting to take hits on the other side quite seriously. But yes, you can see that we actually haven't been firing at this because it has pretty much no damage. It looks like we've been firing far more at this ship as it kind of explodes quite a lot. The guns are all still attached, but we did just lose the bridge. So yeah, it looks like we're really doing damage to one of the cruisers, which is very good, because cruisers obviously seem to rule the battles in these early turns of Fall of Kerbin. Battleships aren't so effective, and destroyers are kind of very limited use cases, and just kind of good for providing a little bit of extra fire, as you can see here, which gave Penguin definite dominance in this, along with him being able to utilize 8 guns instead of just 6, which will be kind of fixed in my cruises later in the episode, as you'll see. But anyway, yes, so it looks as if the Avenger, the USS Avenger, has started to go down. It's sort of, it's the USS Condor, has started to kind of pop underwater. It looks as if it's taken on a lot of water in the front and has kind of maybe glitched a little bit, but it's basically sunk. So we have just lost the first ship. It is still active and still firing, but it's going to go down quite seriously and probably will die quite soon and won't be able to fire much more, because its guns are kind of pointing down too much. There isn't enough elevation to, change that. You can see we've caused some pretty serious damage to one of Penguin's destroyers, which is also good. So it looks like we're doing damage to multiple of his ships. This is pretty damaged. The the Jesse Phillips? Yeah, that's taken on some serious hits and may even be destroyed. And the other 2 ships actually look fairly okay. The Condor's pretty ruined now, but the Avenger is still going strong, and it does manage to pop one of the guns off the Jesse Phillips, and also hit the the Jonas pretty hard. It's looking like the Jonas is in pretty serious disrepair. So yeah, this battle going not great, because this also starts to sink. The Avenger takes on a bunch of hits in the front and starts to pitch downward. The gun's still active though, so it's not totally over. But yes, this has suffered a somewhat similar fate to the Condor, but it does seem to still be able to fire. So this isn't over yet. We're gonna fight until the last, even when the bridge is underwater and they're all drowning. But yeah, the amount of kind of shells flying now is pretty ridiculous, so it's hard to fight this. But we're going to keep doing it, because we need to batter Penguin ships pretty seriously, because there is a chance he'll run away and just repair them, and that's kind of fine, because we still get, push him back a bit. But we really want to at least destroy one of these ships, and at least leave them damaged enough that if I do intercept them, I should have no problem taking them out with the full-on fleet, because the south is ours, and also the north, because we're not losing any land. Yeah. But it seems like the Avenger has started to focus its fire on one of these destroyers, which is a good thing, because it's more likely to destroy that. And destroyers also carry 10 torpedoes, which could be pretty devastating for some of my biggest ships. So we do want to take them out as well. These are probably well, no, I'd probably put more weight on the cruisers, because they're just very effective all-round battleships. Well, warships, I guess. An actual battleship is different. But yeah, this is going quite far underwater. It is still taking hits and taking damage, so it's not like it's just invulnerable right now. But yes, the what is this? The Omega Goldfish. Sorry, Omega Goldfish, but your ship is dying. started to take on some serious hits. It has pretty much no side armor and is gonna die pretty soon, and there it pretty much goes. That's most of its internals. You can see the torpedoes flying off, and it's starting to sink quite seriously. Yeah, the Avenger has killed at least one ship. So yeah, we've had a pretty good set of damage here. We've done some pretty good damage. You can see the Condor is totally destroyed now. The Avenger is about to die, as you will see now. But we have managed to sink. What? Oh no, this is where it dies. I was a little confused by that shot, but it totally explodes now, and the Avengers' reign is over. But we have managed to destroy one of the cruisers, destroy one of the destroyers, seriously damage another destroyer, and very seriously damage one of the cruisers, while the other cruiser is still left very much standing. Now, there are some supply ships nearby. They're 90 kilometers away, so Penguin can't easily get to them in one turn. So we shouldn't have a problem with them, but I'm still not taking any chances. So we're going to send out a single attacker, and one of the ones we can launch this turn to go and drop some bombs on those supply ships, and also maybe carry out a little secondary mission, which we'll see later. But yes, this is just going to head on over there, drop some bombs. I've obviously only got 1,000 pounds of bombs, but that should be enough for supply ships. They're pretty weak if you hit them in the right place. So yes, we are going to try and reclaim the waters in the south, because we are claiming the lands in the south, so we need the waters to follow. Anyway, so here we are, kind of after a long flight, swooping in. Just going to dispense two 250-pound bombs on this, and hopefully that will more than destroy it. There they go. I'm going to watch them fall, and when they hit, they do nothing. I was a little upset about this. I started firing a little bit. These ships are much hardier than I thought they would be, which is a serious problem. But anyway, what I do is I turn around and I drop 2 more bombs, because I was like, 4 has to destroy it, right? And what I really think happened here, because this does destroy it, but I think this just nails the bridge, so I think I should really be aiming for the bridge. My plan was just to overheat it more, but yeah. So we've taken out one of the supply ships. Not super great, because just having one supply ship is pretty useful. But anyway, on the way back after that semi-successful mission, we decide to pull a right and land on a different runway. Penguin's forward operating base in the south, inexplicably undefended, with a nice little bridge into his lands. So yeah, I thought I'd land my plane here. You know, it's a shorter flight. It's a shittier runway, dude. It's like in the ground, but but yes. So we're gonna take this just so that Penguin can't take off in the south so easily, because we don't want him having any kind of superiority in the south. This is my land. You try and focus on the north. But anyway, talking of the north, let's head back there, because we have some unfinished business. Yes, we have taken back our forward operating base, but Penguin's forward operating base is still loaded with tanks and a bomber, actually. A freaking bomber. Anyway, so we take off, just miss the tank, just give it a quick buzz, I'm sure it'll be very happy about that, and fly on over there. So my plan is to use these 2 attackers to kind of coax Penguin's bomber out, and then I'm going to shoot down the bomber, and then I'm going to turn back around, and I'm going to drop the bombs on the tanks, because I don't want to be trying to shoot down I don't want to be trying to shoot down a bomber while the tanks are still active. While flying what I thought was far away enough not to have a problem, they do open fire on me. Luckily, I'm just far away enough that it doesn't seem like they can get any accurate shots, and I am traveling quite fast. But I do start to climb to try and avoid a lot of this 37mm flak fire, because both of those heavy tanks have 37mm flak cannons on them, which is super dangerous. And yeah, it doesn't seem to be super accurate at this range though. However, it does get 1 hit on me, which is luckily just a flag. I should put more flags on my aircraft. They always seem to be the first things to explode. It does knock me off balance a bit, but it's not really a problem. So yeah, anyway, then we're going to dive down on top of this on top of this bomber, and we're going to try and shoot it down. We shouldn't have too much of a problem. It is pretty covered in turrets, so it could lay down a lot of gunfire, but what I'm going to do is just try and shoot it from above. However, that may be quite difficult. I've told my my wingman just to follow me into this. He's on guard mode, so he can use his turret, but I'm hopefully going to shoot this down pretty quickly. However, I fly right past it because I was going way too fast. Luckily, it seems to pull a turn, so it can't actually get any shots off at me, which is really useful. And we fly right in front of it. And where is my peregrine? Where is my wingman right now? It's kind of hard to tell, but he should buzz in pretty quickly. There he is, coming in to join the fight. It appears we've got in front of the Blackheart right now, because you'll hear an explosion, which I was like, what the hell was that? And it turns out the Blackheart is behind us, and my wingman is just killing him with the turret. So there it goes. An interesting way to take it down. Getting in front of it and using the turret. Maybe I should remember that in future. But yes, we have finally dispatched that evil bomber, the bomber that destroyed the USS Yorick. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well, Horatio. Totally not named after the Shakespeare guy, but yes! Yeah, so we've taken down the bomber that kind of destroyed the cruiser, which I sent to cut off Penguin's destroyer, which is headed for Osiris Fortress. Luckily, Penguin's destroyer won't be able to get to Osiris Fortress in this next turn, so basically I'm just going to let him kind of do whatever he wants to do and take him out next turn. I think his best course of action is run away, because if he doesn't run away, I'm going to kill him next turn. So yeah. Anyway, we drop all the bombs. They get pretty much instantly shot out of the air. I've really got to stop dropping them in just massive blocks of 3, because it's so easy to destroy them with one shot. Anyway, so we start running away, and it looks as if my wingman, who I've just sent off to fly away, is taking a lot of fire, and I'm pretty sure he's dead at this point. And then it turns out my little turret on the back is starting to fire up the tanks. Yeah, get some 30 caliber fire in. Yeah, really do some damage to those gun carriers. But then I just get totally annihilated. Turns out this one had just lost its flags and taken a bit of damage on the back. So yeah, totally fine. So we get away with one attacker. We've destroyed the evil bomber, which took out the USS Yorick, and has done much damage to me. Took out 4 tanks, I think, actually. Well, that may have been a different bomber. But yes, we've weakened Penguin significantly in the north. He still has both of his tanks and 2 supply units up here, which is going to be a problem next turn. Or maybe the turn after. He likes to build up his forces a little. But yes, we have, kind of reclaimed our lot in the north and should be able to hold out here for a while we continue our exploits in the south. So anyway, we send that home, and we send up our first supply unit of the turn to the forward operating base to repair that plane a little bit, and to refuel and rearm those tanks, because I used up pretty much half of my shells taking this forward operating base from that kind of heavy tank, because it takes a lot of shells to hit stuff. But yes, Eddie Stobart refueling and rearming everything that we need. Then, down in the south, here we are with the USS something, I have a lot of ships now, with a cruiser and a supply ship just sailing past the battleground that we just experienced down in the south in that naval battle. It's just one cruiser, but I'm just going to keep an eye on them. I'm going to use this to maybe shoot down any other supply units that try and come in, and I may use that supply ship right there to build a bridge in the island chain near the forward operating base. But yeah, this is just passing by. It's pretty vulnerable as it is, and Penguin may decide to take it out next turn, although he pretty much only has one active cruiser, so it would be anyone's game. But he may, choose to, so yeah. But I think we've pinned him in the south a little bit. This should be a little bit more worries for him, which is always good. Anyway, heading down to the south are my new class of cruisers. These are Spear class cruisers. They now use 4 8-inch twin mounts, which are just slightly better because it means I can use 8 guns all at once. They have 2 pointing forward at the front. You don't actually get a great look at it at this point, but it has 1 turret at the back and 3 at the front, 2 kind of jutting out a little bit, and another one kind of pointing forward. So it's still about forward firepower, but this is just slightly more effective, and they will be kind of paired with Rapier class cruisers. So yeah, these should be very effective, the Spear classes. And then there's also the fleet coming home to port from the battle for Osiris. This is the USS Sierra, the USS Osiris, and the USS Mercury. The survivors from the Battle of Osiris, they're refueling, and I needed to also attach a new engine to the Mercury because it lost 1, and that means it couldn't really do combat. But yes, these have nicely been fixed and are all ready to head down to the south next turn with a couple more cruisers or destroyers or something like that. And that will be rather nice. So anyway, we also send them a supply unit so that they're all prepared for next turn, because I'm sending a proper navy. My navy's quite fragmented right now, but we also have Penguin's navy. They look like they're advancing straight across the Aesir, so I may have to send a proper defense force to go and take them out, so that may consist of this and whatever I launch next turn, which should be pretty deadly. Maybe some Spear class cruisers, which we'll get a better look at next turn. I realise we didn't look at them properly, but yeah. Anyway, so here again down in the south in the island chain, we've got our 2 tanks that we've been keeping down here. and an Eddie Stobart, which has reached us. We're almost in position to build a second bridge, so we'll be onto the next island, as you can see here. And then it's pretty much just one more, and we have a road right into Penguin's grounds, Penguin's lands. So I should be sending more tanks down here fairly soon. Once I regain naval dominance, that should also help me. So yes, that is rather nice. We probably will need some more Eddie Stobarts down here, or some ships to build bridges, but ships don't last a long time down here anymore. So yeah, also my supply ships may be being hunted by a submarine at some point, but I think all of my supply units are escorted now, because the when I launched those two new cruisers, I moved them up with the supply unit from last turn, so there's no undefended supply units that I know of, except this one, of course, but luckily this is on land away from submarines. And this is just an Eddie Stobart heading down to the island chain. But yes, this is the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to our glorious victory. We've fought back in the north, done some serious damage, really leveled to the playing field and maintained air superiority. We have tank superiority now. He has 2 light tanks. We have 2... No, he has... Penguin has 2 heavy tanks. I have 2 heavy tanks and 2 light tanks. I'm not sure about Navy. It's kind of a mess right now. He does have a destroyer in the north, but it won't be able to reach anything next turn, so it shouldn't be a problem. But yes, we have fought back rather valiantly today, and I think we've done a good job. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you'd like to go check out a couple more of my videos, there is a video I did yesterday where I deorbit my 1-kilometer space station and also somehow achieve 10 times light speed at the same time. I know, sounds weird, right? And also my latest episode of Road to Exploration, in which I continue to build my Duna vehicles, which should be pretty awesome. There are also links to my Twitter, Twitch, and Patreon in the description if you want to go check them out. But anyway, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been Caspi with Tape. I will see you next time.